All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are on to chapter 43, consumerism and subjectivity. Key terms on the left, discussion questions on your right, and we're going to jump right on into your notes. So, consumerism and subjectivity is all about understanding the individual who is involved. So, when you're reading this chapter, you're going to learn that the researchers, when we talk about audience studies and audience research, one of the big things that researchers came across and they wanted to learn more about was the individual that they were studying. You know, the social aspects, the social behaviors, the cultural background, the uniqueness of each individual person, because they felt that in order to understand consumption and consumerism, they had to understand their audiences and all possible facets of their audiences. So we've done a lot so far in Unit 4 talking about the individual, talking about the demographics, the breakdown of your groups, what makes these people who they are. Um, and so going along with those ideas, researchers address media text as a means of communication. And with that, we talk about the fluidity of these systems, and these researchers learned and decided that just like individuals and the cultures that they come from, the consumer culture that they create is a fluid system. And that fluid system is dictated, it is created um, because of varying production, varying distribution, the different meanings that people create from their media text, and the value and emphasis placed on different consumable goods. So you have your consumers, you have all these varying consumers with all these unique backgrounds and all these unique tendencies and all their individuality that they have going on. And our researchers in audience research discovered that in this way, consumers are also considered producers, but they are producers of culture. Consumers create consumer culture, and they create consumer culture by consuming goods, services, and media text. So let's say I have my audience for Lion King, and the 2019 Lion King in specific. The consumers of the 2019 live action adaptation of The Lion King create a particular consumer culture by consuming that media text. Whatever that media text is said to represent is now a culture that people can buy into. And what that means and how it expands our definition of culture is that now culture isn't just because I belong here means I don't belong there. That statement's no longer valid. In this, like, consumer culture is wide and varying, and people can belong to multiple consumer cultures without giving up any other consumer culture they may want to participate in. And this translates to the identity and social grouping that we develop for ourselves as well. You know, the person that I am today, the people that I hang out with, all of those things are influenced by the consumer culture groups that I choose to participate in. Um, you are similar to the people that you hang around with, you have similar beliefs, you buy into similar ideas. So now, this marketplace of all of these consumable goods, not necessarily the grocery store, we're talking like the internet, malls, any kind of online shopping, forums, websites, blogs, whatever the case may be, wherever your marketplace is now the source of the items, the resources, the materials, the consumable goods that are going to create your identity. Um, and your marketplace creates your identity, one, based on access to the materials and resources that you have in that market, but two, the relationship you build with the people who always also frequent that market. So let's say, for example, that the marketplace where I am going and purchasing consumable goods is Forever 21. So I'm at Forever 21. That is my supposed marketplace. It is now the source of my resources for constructing my identity based on access. So based on my availability to get to that store, is there a Forever 21 in my neighborhood, or can I at least get to one? Can I drive to one? Two, the other people who frequent that shop. So now I am associated with a consumer culture of Forever 21 because I buy their goods and I interact with those people. I hope that makes sense. Um, and so I've created my consumer culture by shopping at Forever 21. However, just like we can see that being created, we can see that consumer culture being created because I'm frequenting Forever 21. We can also see the flip side of that, the opposition to that, which is called consumer resistance, which is where audiences reject certain brands or products. So the Crocs store. I don't wear Crocs. I know many of my students do. It's okay. But I have developed my own consumer resistance because I reject that particular brand. I reject that particular product. It's not a shoe I have worn. It's not a shoe I have any desire to wear. And so that's my consumer resistance. And I would then associate with people of that consumer resistance also because we don't shop at that store. We don't wear that particular product. And so this particular like resistance, this example that I'm giving you of the Crocs is known as guerrilla resistance, in which consumers produce their own ideas and identities by not purchasing. So consumer resistance is kind of like the opposite of consumer culture. We also see consumer resistance for my DIY people, the do-it-yourself people. So I do a lot of shopping at the home goods stores, Pier 1 Imports, At Home, Home Goods, TJ Maxx, Marshalls, wherever they sell a giant canvas painting or a vase that I don't need at my house or some decorative seashells that I'm going to put on my TV stand. Okay. So there's a consumer culture in home goods and interior home decorating, but we also have people who are kind of the do-it-yourselfers in that crowd. They're the people who repurpose, I don't know, the cardboard box and make it a footstool. We have the people who will create their own canvases and hang up their own paintings in their living room. It's the do-it-yourself crowd. They too are consumer resistance. Okay? So this is consumerism and subjectivity, all to say that consumerism and consumer culture, throughout research and throughout audience research and audience studies, we have learned that it is highly dependent on the individual. With that being said, let's go to your discussion questions. For your project, what does consumer resistance of your media text look like? What do these people say or do? What is their alternative to your media text? So I think some of you, let's see, I'm trying to figure out a wide enough range for an example. I think a lot of us are doing like songs and albums. So let's talk about you people. What does consumer resistance for your media text look like? If I decided that I wanted to do the latest insert artist here album, what does consumer resistance look like? Well, you've got two different options there. Consumer resistance can be someone who just wouldn't buy that particular album, maybe because it's not their genre of music that they listen to, or whatever the case may be. Maybe they don't like that artist. Consumer resistance of your media text could also be, I just don't buy music. I am a free music kind of person where I listen to Pandora, Spotify, Apple Music, whatever the case may be. I am not a consumer. I am a consumer resistance for that group. What do these people say or do? That can be, what kind of actions do they have? Are they just opposed to that genre, that artist? How would they project that for other people to see? And then what is their alternative to your media text? So like I said, some people don't buy the album. Therefore, their alternative media text may be free music platforms, or their alternative text could be a different genre, a different music category, a different artist. Okay, so that's what I want you guys to do for your project, because we've been talking a lot about who our audiences are. Now we're going to kind of be looking at who our audience isn't and why they are not our audience. Okay, so like I said, that is going to be chapter 43, your notes. Don't forget that you have your quiz coming up. Your quiz will be after we complete chapter 44. So if I'm not mistaken, your quiz should be on either Tuesday or Wednesday. I'm not sure. But here are your notes. Make sure that you follow along with the PowerPoint and that you know what date the quiz is going to be on. Matter of fact, let's just slide to the slide that we need. Unit 4 quiz, April 29th. 10 questions, short answer response on all of our chapters from 40 through 44. Okay, so this has been the video lecture for chapter 43. I will do the chapter for video lecture for chapter 44, and then we will take our quiz. All right, talk to you guys again soon.